welcome. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. My name is Kristen and I'm part of Brood and Boost Food. Brood and Boost Food started with me and my mom enjoying going to local breweries, distilleries, and wineries. And so we decided why not bring those amazing places to you guys. So today is actually going to be something a little bit different. We are pairing wine with Girl Scout cookies. We've sent out some kits, so hopefully everybody got their kit or their digital ticket, and hopefully you picked up your wines from your local purveyor and you've got your cookies, and so let's get ready to taste. Our first pairing is going to be the Campo Viejo Cava, the Brut Reserve, and we're pairing it with the lemonade cookie. This pairing I really enjoy a lot. The Campo Viejo is a very bubbly, very sparkling wine. The classic blend for Cava is 3 different grapes. It's Macabeo, Xarello, and Parasada. So these are the classic blending grapes for Cava. This Cava, particularly from Campo Viejo, they actually ferment it in the bottle. So that's a classic way to ferment your sparklings. So let's actually taste this together and see what we think. So it takes a little bubbles. I get a very kind of buttery, citrusy note on the nose. Lots of effervescence, lots of bubbles in the mouth. Take a bite of your lemonade cookie. It's a buttery shortbread, got a little bit of lemon and a nice zest from the frosting on the bottom. Reminds me of a fizzy lemonade, is what I used to call it as a kid. I would go to the soda machine and I'd fill up half my cup with lemonade and half with Sprite. And so this definitely reminds me of childhood. Anyways, what do you guys think? What do you think of this pairing? I very much think that the wine brings out the citrusy notes of the cookie and it cuts through that buttery flavor of the cookie itself. Also, what's fun about this winery, Campo Viejo, it's in Rioja, Spain, and the winery opened in 2001. There are actually 3 female winemakers there, which I love some girl power. The chief winemaker is Elena Adele, and she's in charge of all of the wines. And then there's 2 other females, Irina Perez and Elena Suarez. They each are in charge of their own style of wine. So one lady is in charge of the white wines, the other's in charge of the red, and the other is in charge of the sparkling. I think this gives room for creativity in each of the styles of wine. And it also, I think, is great that they can focus on one style, since red and white grapes are completely different and it can be used in many different ways. Also, I really want to go check out this winery because half of it is underground. They say this is really great for the wine itself, for the aging process, and also they say it leads to a lot of creativity for these 3 women to make incredible wines. So what do you guys think of the pairing? I really love this one. I think it was a great way to start. So now, while we're enjoying this wine and the cookie, we're going to do some trivia. Okay, so while you guys think about our trivia questions, we are going to go on to the next pairing. Our next wine is from Chateau Saint Michel from Washington. It is a Gewürztraminer, and we're pairing it with the new cookie Toast Yay. How cute is this cookie? It looks like a little piece of French toast. This cookie has a lot going on. It's very mapley, a lot of cinnamon. And so this cookie actually gave us a little bit of a trouble trying to figure out something to pair with it. But I very much think that the Gewürztraminer pairs really nicely with it. This wine is actually not as sweet as I was expecting, so it pairs very nicely with the cookie. So we're going to, again, take a little sip of your wine, take a little smell first. I'm getting a lot of like, almost like a pear kind of smell to it. Take a little taste. It's sweet, but it's not overly sweet, which I, again, was very surprised about. As oftentimes I feel like Gewürztraminers can be very on the more sweet end of things. This one's a little bit more dry. We'll take a bite of the cookie. A lot of maple, a lot of cinnamon. And take it with the wine. I do get some very fruit qualities from it, a little bit of apple, and it definitely pulls out the cinnamon in that cookie as well. So Chateau Ste. Michelle is in Washington. It was originally, the winery was started in 1967, and they actually called it Ste. Michelle Vintners. In 1976, they actually built a French chateau on the grounds, and they ended up calling it Chateau Ste. Michelle. Now they actually have two different wineries. One does all their white wines, and the other does all of their red wines. The red wines are in Canoe Ridge Estate Winery in Eastern Washington, and the whites are at the original chateau in Woodlandville, Washington. What's great about this is each, again, red and white grapes thrive in different climates. So with being in two different parts of the state, they really can thrive and grow and produce some really great wines from Chateau Ste. Michelle. Again, I was very surprised. I hadn't had their wines in a very long time, so this was very, very surprising to me how great it actually paired with the cookie as well. Also, what's great about Chateau Ste. Michelle is they are very conscious about being sustainable and also making sure that they are not leaving too big of a footprint in the environment. There's lots of rivers in Washington, and lots of salmon are going up and downstream to spawn. So they have an initiative to make sure that any of the wineries and the processes they do are not disturbing any of the salmon. Their program is called Salmon Safe. So any of the wines you find from Chateau Ste. Michelle have a little salmon picture on it. You know that they were grown using healthy practices that keep the Pacific Northwest rivers clean. So what do we think about this pairing? What do we like about it? I think the Gewürztraminer, this is actually 100% Gewürztraminer, and the head winemaker, Bob Berthew, kind of a fun fact, is he actually is a Boise State alum, which we are big Boise State fans here in my family, so go BSU. I feel like this wine is very well balanced, and again, it's not too sweet, so it's very surprising to see that in a wine. So what do we think of this pairing? What do we like about it? And while we marinate on this pairing, let's go to some more trivia. For this round is the Cloudbreak Rosé from Parlor, California, with the Caramel Delight cookie. Caramel Delight cookie has coconut, caramel, and chocolate. I feel like the Rosé very much brings out the coconut in this cookie. I like this rosé a lot. It is a blend of Grenache, Mourvedre, and Syrah. It has a little bit of a strawberry note to it, and it's not too sweet, which I very much like in a rosé. It's like semi-dry. It's not super dry, but it definitely has a nice like mouthfeel to it. And we'll taste it with the cookie. I love the caramel lights. They're so good. Taste it with the wine. This wine definitely brings out the coconut flavor in the cookie, and I feel like with it being not so sweet, it kind of mellows out that caramel in the cookie as well. Fabric Rosé is from Parlor, California. It is a blend of Grenache, Mourvedre, and Syrah. The head winemaker there is Steven DaCosta, and he is part of a young team of winemakers who are inventive in their styles of wine, their sustainability practices, and also their technology. What do we think of this pairing? What do we like about it? I really love rosés. My mom actually gives me a hard time about rosé because back in the day when she drank white Zinfandel, I always turned my nose up against white Zinfandel. But when I moved to California and started drinking rosé, she gave me a hard time. Now we're going to move on to our red wines. So this is going to be our halftime break. Feel free to get up and move around, get a sip of water, and flip over your tasting mat. It will have your red wines on the back. Thank you all for supporting the Girl Scouts. Again, this is what it's all about. It's about fun and help supporting young women. So we love that. So now on to our red wines. Our next is a Lambrusco. It's from Botticello. It's a Dolce Rosa. Lambrusco made in Emilia-Romagna, Italy. Lambrusco is only made in this region of Italy. So Lambrusco is kind of an interesting wine. It is a red wine, but it does have a little bit of an effervescence to it. Also, it does have a little bit of a sour taste. It's almost like a sour beer. If you're into sour beers, it's kind of that in a red wine. So if you open it up and it kind of tastes a little bit of a vinegary kind of taste to it, it's not spoiled, I promise you. It's not everybody's cup of tea. I'm just going to put that out there. So this Lambrusco has a very jammy note to it, hence why we paired it with our peanut butter patties. My mom had this revelation last year to have it taste like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So we wanted to find a wine that had a very jammy, juicy kind of taste to it. So we'll taste our Lambrusco. Again, getting lots of jammy notes, a little bit of a light effervescence. It's good. It's a different style of red, and we'll taste it with the cookie. Exactly like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's so good. I love this pairing. Is great, and especially too if you've never had Lambrusco before, that's a great way to introduce you into Lambrusco. 60% of the wines in Italy are produced by co-ops. So co-ops were created because wine farmers only had small parts of land in Italy. So you couldn't really produce wine with a couple of acres of land. So what they did is they got together with their friends and their neighbors and they created these co-ops. Now there are 9 cooperatives and over 5,000 families are part of these cooperatives that come up with some of the best wines in Italy. And a lot of them are very reasonably priced as well. So most of your wines from Italy are going to be from co-ops. So what do we think about this pairing? Have we had Lambrusco before? What are we thinking? Do we like this pairing? What are our thoughts? So while we enjoy our peanut butter and jelly cookies, let's go on to some trivia. Our next wine is actually one of my favorites. I think this was a perfect pairing for me, is our Predator Old Vine Zinfandel. We're pairing it with our s'mores cookie. Fun fact about the s'mores cookie is in some regions, you get the s'mores cookie that we have, which is chocolate covered on a graham cracker with marshmallow. In other areas, they make it into a sandwich cookie. So it's two cookies. In the middle is the chocolate and the marshmallow. I particularly like these ones the best. I love more chocolate, so it was more bang for your buck. So our Predator Old Vine Zinfandel is actually part of the Rutherford Wine Company in Lodi, California. They are part of Rutherford Wine Company, has a bunch of different wines that they represent and help produce. Predator, well, the reason why it has a little ladybug on the front, they actually use ladybugs instead of synthetic chemicals to help with bugs that would actually hurt and harm the vine. So they are a natural predator to get rid of the mites and aphids and things that would chew through the vines of this wine. So let's taste this wine. I'm getting a lot of almost dried fruit on the nose and a little bit of tobacco, just a little bit. And I love this wine. It's got a nice smoky finish. Now taste it with your s'mores. It tastes like I just pulled this off of a campfire. Again, this is my favorite pairing, I think, of all the ones. I love that it, again, reminds me of a campfire s'mores. What's a fun fact about s'mores is the Girl Scouts were actually the first to write a recipe for the classic campfire s'mores that we make today. So your 2 graham crackers, your Hershey chocolate, and your toasted marshmallow, they actually created the first recipe for that. So I think that's kind of a fun fact about the s'mores. And actually what's really sad is this is the last year for the s'mores cookie. So if you guys want this, if you love this pairing and you want this cookie, get some now. Let us know. Our cookie dealer will definitely hook you guys up if you want some more of these s'mores cookies to have for yourself. Some interesting facts about Zinfandel. Zinfandel actually came from Croatia, and it came to Italy, and they call it Primitivo. So if you see on a wine list Primitivo, it's going to have a lot of the same characteristics as this Zinfandel does here. Zinfandel arrived in New England in 1829 and came to California during the gold rush in 1849. The ancient vines were actually held and kept during Prohibition. Because again, they weren't producing wine, or no one was able to drink wine, but they kept a hold of these old vines, and they actually today produce some of the best old vine Zinfandel in California. think that's really cool that they were able to save those vines from all those years. And now we can actually drink some amazing wine from that region in California. So what do we think of this pairing? What do we like about it? Again, I think this is one of my favorite pairings of the whole bunch. I love a deep, rich, smoky wine. I'm all about it. So I think the pairing was perfect. Let's get into some more trivia. Our last pairing is pretty much everybody's favorite cookie, is the Thin Mint. I'm not going to lie to you, the Thin Mint cookie is very hard to pair with wine. Went through a lot of bottles, which, was very hard, obviously. But luckily, we did find a wine. It's actually a Malbec from Mendoza, Argentina, from Doña Paula. It's the Doña Paula Los Cardos Malbec. What's great about this Malbec is it does have a lot of herbal notes to it, which actually bring out the mint in the cookie. And it's a bold enough wine that it does cut through all that chocolate. So let's taste the wine. I get a little bit of spice and a little bit of kind of like an herbal kind of smell to it. It's definitely dry. You can definitely at the end taste the herbal quality. I pair it with cookie. Yeah, it definitely brings out the mint in that cookie. And it cuts through the chocolate, which is really nice. Doña Paula was established in 1997, and they actually grow 100% of their grapes on their property, which they use to make all of their wines. So they're not outsourcing any of the grapes at all. It's all in-house, which I think is really cool. So Malbec is a Bordelaise varietal originally from France, and it came over to Argentina in the 1800s. Now Argentina is one of the biggest producers of Malbec. I think with the climate and the soil, the Malbec grape thrives over in Argentina. I definitely want to go check out some wineries there when I go. If any of you have some recommendations of where to go in Argentina, let me know. In France, actually the Malbec grape is mostly used for blending. You don't see a lot of just Malbec grapes by themselves. They use it a lot for blending with other varietals as well. What do we think of this pairing? What do we like? What's interesting? Again, the Thin Mint cookie is very, very hard to pair with. So if you have a wine that you love that goes with Thin Mints, please let me know. Let's go on to some trivia. Well, I hope you enjoyed this pairing. I had a lot of fun putting this together, and hopefully you enjoyed it just as much as I did. Please share your pictures of you and your crew enjoying this wine. Don't forget to tag us at brewedandboozedfood.com and use the hashtag CookieGras. If you have any questions, please let us know. feel free to direct message us or send us an email, and we can tell you more about the wines or get you in contact with some of the wineries. Hopefully we can bring some more tastings to you, either through Zoom or hopefully some live tastings. We look forward to tasting with you soon.